Good day, ladies and gents, this is the Ecclesiarch here, and today I'm bringing you the complete beginner's guide to Warhammer 40k Warpforge. So what exactly is Warpforge? Well, it's a digital collectible card game, very similar to Hearthstone. You basically collect cards, build decks, and do battle with other players. The difference? Well, this one is set in the grimdark universe of Warhammer 40k, where you can choose some of your favorite factions and fight for domination. Now, if you're just starting out, I know that the game can feel a little bit confusing, especially with all the things that it's gonna throw at you right as you start. So in this guide, I'm gonna be teaching you everything you need to know to get into Warpforge, step by step, including the economy, deck building, specifics about the cards, as well as some of the early mistakes that you absolutely need to avoid. So stick around and let's start learning.
Now comes the moment to emerge from the shadows.
So gentlemen, here we are. We're logged into Warpforge and we see a lot of things in front of us. So basically, whether you like it or not, one thing's for sure, this is going to be a little bit confusing for a new player. Now, if you are already familiar with the UI of the game and where everything is located, I do suggest you skip this part of the video and you go to the next part, because we're going to be starting from discussing the whole UI of the game and where to find what, so that you as a new player are not confused. So let's take a look first at what we have here. So you're going to see your username and you're going to see your icon. And if you click your icon, it's just going to open up this information for you, basically, where you can see your current rank, your warlord mastery, meaning like how many times you've played with a certain warlord, and other, stats that maybe right now don't really mean much to you, which are like forge level, campaign level, and so on. So basically, this is like a little bit of an overview of you. Now, if you do want to change your name, it is possible right inside of the game, so you can just do it whenever you logged in, so that's never going to be a problem. You do it here, and when it comes to your icon, when you go to the avatar panel, you can choose from all the different types of icons that you have. Some of them are collected through events, some of them you start with, some of them come from campaigns, and some of them you can just pay money for. So basically, these are all the different avatars, and when you choose it, this is what's going to be displayed to you as well as your opponent. The same thing goes for the title. You can display different titles that you wish to have. For example, right now I have the Pharaon. You can go for like Veteran Guardsman, or, whatever you basically have, right? And these are also unlocked in a similar way from events, from campaigns, from buying certain things, and so on. Now, all of these things are simply of cosmetic value, nothing else. So basically, all you really do with this is you look fancier, and that's pretty much it. Here you can find some of your achievements, some of the things that you've done. If you're like an achievement hunter, it's going to be interesting for you. Otherwise, I don't think it's going to be very interesting for you in that case. You can also find the battle log. So these are going to be your games, basically. You can see all the victories, all the defeats that you have. Currently, we have a lot of defeats, holy hell. And if you wish to actually take a look at some of these games, you can actually click here to view the replay and check it out. From here, you can also check out the opponent's profile that you have faced, and so on. Basically, this is just a little bit of a battle log of your previous battles. That's pretty much it. So that's all you really need to know about the profile, and the thing that you have beside it is going to be your inbox. This is where you're going to be receiving the news for the game, some important information, as well as the things that you buy for actual money. So if you wish to pay money for the game, in that case, and purchase something, some bundles or things, they're going to be you are going to be receiving them in your inbox. So pay very good attention to that. Now over here, you're going to have this little cog. This is going to be your settings. I don't think it really needs any explanation here, just, typical game things like settings, your account, graphics, and so on. One very important thing, however, is going to be the redeem code button. So what does this do? This is where you actually redeem certain codes that are going to be giving you free rewards. So if you actually noticed in our inbox, it actually says that join the celebration by entering the promo code skirmish. That means I can go here, I can click redeem, I'll write skirmish, Now, don't forget that this is case sensitive, so since it's like with capital letters, you have to do it like that, caps on basically. And when you confirm it, it's going to tell you if it's successful or not. If it's not successful, either you misspelled something or maybe it's already invalid, and it's going to give you some rewards. In this case, it gave me 2 booster packs, which can be pretty nice. Over here are your main 3 resources of the game: the gold, the blackstone, and the crystal. Now, what we use all these things for, we will discuss in the economy section of the game, but overall, you should know that your resources are going to be displayed here, and sometimes there might be also some extra resources on timed events that you will see beside the crystals. Now, over here, you have the chat where you can go in and see all the beautiful people swearing at each other. So, just joking, obviously, unless I'm not. So, this is basically the chat. And over here, you're going to see the main things of the game. So, in the play section, you are going to have these big icons here. So this right here, the one that says skirmish, these are mostly for timed events and timed bundles. So this is going to be less interesting for you right now. What is going to be interesting are these 4 things. So if you're a new player, I highly recommend you do the tutorials. So here you have tutorials for the 6 basic factions of the game, the ones that came when the game came out, which is basically the Ultramarines, the Orcs, the Sotek Dynasty of the Necrons, the Black Legion, the Eldari of the Simhan, as well as High Fleet Leviathan. So you can play tutorial for each of these factions, and it's going to teach you some basic mechanics of each of these factions. So if you're a new player, I definitely suggest you go through the tutorials. Over here, you're also going to have an amazing thing, which is called practice. Now, the reason why this is an amazing thing is that you can practice here with pre-made decks that you are already available to you, because obviously this is a collectible card game, which means it's going to take some time before you are able to actually get a good deck, right? That you can practice with, and you're going to be focusing probably on a couple of factions. You won't be able to like get everything out right, and this is a perfect way to actually practice, because for example, let's say I want to try the Necrons, right? I don't know which faction I want to collect, so I decide to try them out. So what the practice mode actually lets you do is you can choose pre-made decks which have different warlords from the faction. For example, if I want to play Necrons, I can try Nemesor, I can try Oricon, or I can try Imhotep, and this is basically for free, right? It's just there. And you can also take a look at the deck that they're running here, all the cards that they have. Right now, I know it's going to be confusing for you what all these cards mean, but basically what I want to tell you is if you want to try out the factions before committing to them, this is the perfect way. You go into practice, you choose a deck, and then you do battle. You're only going to, however, be doing battle against the AI when you are playing practice. So you're not going to be put up against real players. But I don't think that really matters, because if you're a new player, you just probably want to try out all of these factions and then decide which one you want to commit to based on the playstyle, based on their aesthetics, maybe based on what you love from Warhammer lore, and so on. So I suggest do not neglect the practice mode here. It is going to be very good for you as a new player. Now, when it comes to the draft mode, we're not going to talk about draft in this video, because I think the draft is going to require a separate video on its own, which I'm going to be releasing pretty soon. But to tell you like in 2 or 3 words, this is a game mode where you basically select a warlord from random 3 warlords, and then you get a random possible cards that you can choose and build a deck, and then you play against enemy players. If you win if you do 12 wins, you successfully do the draft. If you lose 3 times, you lose the draft. Of course, based on how many wins you make, then you get certain rewards. So this might be a little bit confusing, so let's leave this for the future, right? And of course, here's the main thing, which is called the classic. This is basically where you can play your basic battles. So here, when you enter, what you're going to see is a couple of things. So don't mind the deck name, please. So you're going to see the factions that you can choose. And when you choose the factions, you can, of course, then choose the warlords. Here, obviously, you can click this button to switch to all the different decks that you already own. If you do not have a deck already, then you can create other decks, which will be available here, and I will show you how to do that later on. Here you can also switch from unranked to ranked mode. Just like in every other game, unranked does not give you points, while ranked gives you points. So one is basically friendly matches, while the other is competitive matches. And you rank up basically as you gain points, just like in every other game in existence, right? And on the leaderboard, obviously, you can also check out who's like in the top 50. And basically, once you hit the legendary rank, you are going to start competing for the top 50 plays, because those are also going to have some special rewards at the end of every season. And here you can see just how much time is left before the season ends. Over here, obviously, you can also take a look at the deck that you have currently selected. Now, more on that, as I said, a little bit later. Over here, then after the play, we have the collection tab. Now, this is a very important thing, because this is where all your deck building is happening, basically, right? So, as you enter, right now, you're going to have a skirmish at the time when I'm making the video, obviously. When you watch it, skirmish might not be available anymore, but if you have like these two tabs, it means that you can create decks for the skirmish mode and the classic mode, right? Skirmish is just a timed special game mode where it has special rules, but in general, you will be interested in the classic one. So once you hit classic, it will display all the decks that you have built. Now, you can either create new decks or import existing decks from other players if they share their deck with you or deck code with you. Let's put it like that. So once you hit import, you have to paste the code here, and it's automatically going to create the deck. So almost every content creator posts their deck codes when they're creating deck guides, so this should make it a little bit easier for everybody. Now, obviously, you have to own the cards that the deck has in order to create that. Once you hit create, then you are going to see all the existing cards that you're basically own, but first you're going to see only the warlords. Now, what are the warlords? Again, we're going to discuss a little bit more detail on the part where we're going to be creating decks, but whenever you choose a faction, you have to also choose your leader, so who's going to be leading your army. And for each faction, there are certain leaders available. So, for example, for the Ultramarines, you got Varro, Uriel, Marneus Calgar, Lieutenant Titus, as well as Chaplain Letharius. So, as soon as you choose who you want to build your deck with, then you will be prompted to build your deck using the cards from that faction, right? You can also check the deck info here, which is going to display information like number of stratagems, number of troops, as well as the energy costs of everything that you have. And there's also going to be the cosmetic part where you can choose your card backs and things. So let's go back for a little bit because we're going to be discussing deck building in detail a little bit later. Obviously, you can also filter some things here so that it doesn't become too overwhelming, because when you create a deck, for example, maybe you want to filter between rarity of the cards and between the factions. So this can also really help you decide what you want to be looking at. So if I click the Ultramarines, everything else is basically gone. Here you can check all the cards that you basically own. However, you can also click here and you can also click this, which is going to also show you the cards that you do not currently own in the game. So you can only check, if you wish, the cards that you already have or the cards that you don't have and want to get in the future. So let's go back once again and let's now take a look at the cosmetics. Now for the cosmetics, this is basically going to be your card backs. Card backs can be obtained many different ways. One way is through events, the other way is from like achieving top 50 at the end of the season, purchasing bundles from campaigns and other things. So basically, these are just for show, nothing else. If you want to have a cool card back, it's there. There's also going to be a very weird thing here, which is called styles. And styles are basically skins. So I'm sure you've played some other game where you basically had skins. So this is the same thing. Currently, at the time when I'm making this video, there's only 4 skins in the game: Abaddon, Azrael, Imhotep, and Gaskell Thraka. So currently, the theme is they're releasing these kinds of hammer and bolter types of skins. So if you enjoy those, you can grab it and you can have that instead of a default skin. So basically, just to show you what the difference is, this is the Gaskell Thraka, which is from the skin and in the cards. Let me see that for a second. This is the normal Gaskell. So basically, like, depending on what you prefer, you can choose. So this is the skin, this is the basic. So if you really like the skin, obviously you can grab it. So it's totally up to you, but it doesn't give you any strength or unfair advantage. It's just for show. Now, after that, you have the shop tab, which is basically going to be all the things that you can purchase, right? For in-game currency or real money. In the offers, obviously, it's only going to be stuff that's sold for money. In the boosters section, you're going to have boosters for different factions. Now, what this does is there are all army boosters and there are specific boosters. If you buy an all army pack, it's going to have 5 cards from basically all the factions. So it's like, it's random. It can be like a card from any faction. It's not specified, right? And after like every 30 all army booster, you're going to get a guaranteed legendary card. So more on that a little bit later. But for example, let's say I don't want to be random, I want to play Dark Angels. I'm going to be pushing for Dark Angels pack because it's going to always contain 5 Dark Angels cards. And if I get 30, I'm guaranteed to get a Dark Angels legendary. So this is basically it. In the all armies thing, which is called free, this is basically something that you can use to invite your friends. This is just a referral program. Here you can write who referred you to the game, and by that giving them free gold as a reward. Either gold, no, not gold, sorry, I think it's actually boosters. And if somebody comes using your link, you will also get some boosters, right? Here, there is also the currency tab, obviously still more stuff for actual money. But here is the real deal. So here is the thing that you're going to be most paying most attention to. This is the shop. This is where you're going to have cards appear from different factions every single day, and there's always going to be one legendary card appearing there all the time. So there's going to be legendaries, epics, commons, and rares. So you can guess the rarity of the card by their color. The gold is legendary, the purple is epic, the green is going to be the rare, and the gray is going to be the common. So this is something you want to really pay attention to, because this is where you can purchase specific cards for crystals. Crystals are not that difficult to get. It can be a little bit of a grind, but this is basically one of the easiest way to get the cards. If you want a specific card, like if you really want the pain boss and it appears in the shop, you can just grab it, right? Instead of trying to get it from the booster. Now, there is also a second shop available, which is called the VIP store, which is basically the same thing. If the VIP store is available for you, you basically get double the shop every day. Now, VIP store doesn't require you to pay money. I know it seems like that at the beginning, but no, it's not. When you log into the game daily, it gives you rewards, and once you log 7 days in a row, you become a VIP, and that means that VIP store is going to be open for you. So then you just got to keep logging in daily, and you're going to get rewards and maintain the VIP store. So there's really no reason not to just log in every day. It gives you free rewards for that anyway. So yeah, this is the VIP store. Now, speaking of rewards, there's also the rewards tab, and there's going to be a ton of very weird things you're gonna see here, and it's going to be confusing as hell for the start. So let's start from the easiest thing. The easiest thing is going to be the daily streak. So every day you can log in and you can get some rewards for logging in, like crystals, gold, blackstone, cards, boosters, and different things. So every time you log in, just check in the daily streak, and if it's like glowing, you click it and it's just going to be dropping some things. For example, this is 75 crystals, the VIP store pass, daily one, and Emperor's Children random card, which is pretty damn good. There's also the Forge. Now, the Forge is very, very specific. This is where you upgrade your faction's Forge, which is going to be supplying your faction with different powerful things like defense cards and offense cards, and giving you wild cards and boosters and different cool things. Now, how the Forge is being used, we will discuss this in the economy section of this guide. So if you're interested in that, make sure to not miss that part. There's also going to be the campaign. Now, campaign should be one of your most important things. At first, when you start the game as a new player, you will be prompted to choose one of the factions to start from, right? And the faction that you choose is going to give you a beginner deck for that faction. For example, this is the beginner deck for the Emperor's Children. It's going to come with certain things. So basically, when you progress your campaign, you go through different nodes, and it's going to be rewarding you with different cool things like crystals, cards, boosters, legendary cards even, and like many different things. And the final node here is also going to have a random legendary. It's going to and it's going to end with a booster pack, which is going to be a repeatable node which you can get over and over again. So for example, if I want to start off with the Emperor's Children, the first thing that I'd want to do is continue with the campaign, and when I'm finished with the whole Emperor's Children campaign, I probably want to move to something else, and you can switch to the faction you want here. If you switch to another faction while doing another faction's campaign, you do not lose the progress of the previous one. So let's say I'm halfway through the Ultramarines and I decide, okay, now I want some Orcs. You can continue with the Orcs and you can come back to the Ultramarines later on. Now, how do you actually progress the campaign? We're gonna talk in more detail later, but I'll tell you a little details about that here. So every single day when you log into the game, you're gonna have daily missions. So daily missions are very straightforward, and one of the best things about these are that you can complete them in practice as well. So basically it says pray 30 times. This pray is the Sisters of Battle ability, so when I trigger pray 30 times, it's going to reward me with 400 points here, campaign points. And based on which faction I have chosen, I'm going to be rewarded for the points for that specific faction. So you have to be sure that you have the correct faction selected when you click collect. And when you get the points, then you can spend those points here on the campaign. So for example, the first one is like 200 points if I remember correctly, then 300, then it goes to 400. So it grows all the way up to 1,000 points, 1,100 points, but that's the maximum. Nothing's more expensive than that. So you collect those points on the missions and then you spend them on the campaign. You can also collect those by collecting skulls, which basically means what? Every time you win a game, you get 3 skulls. You can also get 2 or 1 skulls if you meet certain requirements, but I'll tell you that when we are basically already playing the game, right? But the premise is that when you play against other players, you collect the skulls, and for every milestone, you can then collect some more points. Also, as you are completing these missions, you also increase your weekly challenge reward, and after like every 1 week you can collect it and get some cool rewards. Like here, for example, you get an epic card, 2 boosters, crystals, and blackstone, so which is pretty damn cool, right? So that is pretty much it for this. The only thing that we got here is the social tab, where you can join an alliance and, you know, be in basically be in a clan, if you want to call it, or a lodge or an alliance with other players. You can also have your friend list in the friends here, and from here you can challenge your friends if you wish, just by clicking these dual swords basically here. You can add players from here, and you can also view their profile, for example. So that is pretty much it for the UI, guys. I hope this helps you a little bit in understanding where everything in this game is. But now, as we get into more details of the game, we are also going to be referring to the UI once again. So I think it's going to be a huge help for you. So now, without further ado, let us continue to the next part. Alright then, gentlemen, so I believe it's time to stop with the boring UI and let's start talking about the factions, deck building, and gameplay. Now, if you want to go into this tab, I remind you, you have to go into your collection tab, go into your classic, and then you hit create in order to create a deck, and that's where we start from. So once you hit the create button, you will be prompted to choose a warlord. So if you see, all of these cards here have the name warlord under them. So the reason for that is every force must have a leader, and your warlord is going to be filling that role. And based on which warlord you choose, you might have a different type of deck to build. because all of these warlords come with a specialization. They're better at doing something, while others are better at doing something else. So they have their cons and they have their pros. Now, the available factions currently in the game are 12. For the Imperium forces, you have the Ultramarines, the Poster Boys, the Dark Angels, you have the Imperial Guard, obviously, as well as the Sisters of Battle. So if you're an Imperium fan, you have 4 whole factions available for you to choose what you want to play. For the Forces of Chaos, currently you have the Black Legion, as well as the dreaded Emperor's Children. So if you're a Chaos fan, these are the 2 factions that are currently available to you. Then there are also the Xenos factions, which would be the Eldari, the Necrons, as well as the Tau, and of course the Orcs. So these are the Xenos factions that you can choose if you're a Xenos enjoyer, basically. But at the same time, you also have the Tyranids of the High Fleet Leviathan, and they also come with the Genestealer cults. So basically, if you're a Nid fan or a Genestealer fan, well, congratulations. You can play them if you wish. Both are pretty interesting factions, especially the High Fleet Leviathan, I think, is very interesting. The Genestealers are more about making your opponent cry than anything else. So now let's actually start by building a deck, right? Now, I think that one of the easiest things that we can do is we can try to actually build an Ultramarine deck, because Ultramarines are super easy to play. So let's actually start from Marneus Calgar. So I'll choose Marneus Calgar as my warlord. So basically, Calgar, when I open him up here, I can see some specifics. I can see that he has this 40 here, as well as this 2 and this 2. So what does this mean? 40 is his current health. That means how much damage he can take before he's taken out. And this is his melee and range damage. So how much damage he deals when he attacks with his melee weapons, and how much damage he deals when he attacks with his ranged weapons. Most warlords are going to have 2 and 2 here, but there are exceptions like Lucius the Eternal, as well as the Swarmlord, who have 3 melee in exchange for having only 1 ranged. So apart from that, every warlord comes with a talent. So this talent is going to be a special card that they're going to have available to them every single turn, and they can use it. So for Calgar, it's simple. You draw a card, and you waste 2 energy. You spend 2 energy, to draw a card. And it also comes with an extra thing called Codex. Your warlord gains armor 1. Now, what is Codex? Codex is the special keyword of the Ultramarines, which does something when you use up all your energy. So energy is your resource that you're going to be using in the game to play cards, to drop troops, and to play tactics. So let's say I want to choose Marneus Calgar. I'm going to drop him in. And as you can see, as soon as I chose Marneus Calgar, now I can see all the Ultramarine cards available for me to build my deck. In order to build my deck, I will have to have 30 cards in there. Otherwise, I will not be able to play. So cards are going to be classified in 2 types. One is going to be troop, and the other is going to be a stratagem. So you can easily guess what is a troop and what is a stratagem based on the fact that troops always have health and attack, while the stratagems do not. So Oath of the Moment, Tactical Insight, Sheltered Location, Sacred Bolter, and Pariah Vanguard are all stratagems, while Octavio Infiltrator as well as the Scout are both units. Now, what is the difference between a stratagem and a unit? When you play a unit, they stick around until they are destroyed. Stratagems only happen once. You use the stratagem, it does something, that's it. But units are going to be on the board for as long as they're not killed. Now, of course, all these units have some subclasses, right? So some of them are going to be infantry, some of them are going to be vehicle, some of them are going to be beast for orcs, for example. So sometimes you need to keep in mind what their subtype is, because certain cards only affect certain types. Now, there's another thing, if you can see that here, Oath of the Moment says to a friendly unit, but Pariah Vanguard says friendly troop. So your warlord as well as all your soldiers are considered units, but only your soldiers and your vehicles and stuff are considered as troops. which means that Oath of the Moment can also be used on your Warlord, while Pariah Vanguard can only be used on your troop, all right? So now we can start building a deck. So as you can see, all the troops also and tactics also come with an energy cost, right? Some of them are 1, some of them are 2, and you can see them all the way up to 9, where you have something crazy like Repulsor Executioner. So when you play Repulsor Executioner, obviously you're expecting to deal do a lot of work. But I do warn you for one thing, guys, just playing high cost cards because they look cool is not the way to go. Because yeah, if I were starting at first, I was like, oh my god, Kato Sicarius and the Valtus from Space Marine. I'm gonna just drop all of them inside and I'm gonna play all the big troops. No, that's not how it works. It's extremely important to have low cost units as well to optimize your deck. So for Marnea's Calgar, today I'm going to be playing let's actually try to play a balanced Space Marine type of deck with a little bit of aggro. So you will, of course, learn how to choose what are the good cards and what are the bad cards. I do have a video on that, on how to guess which card is good and which is bad. But as time passes, you will learn which cards are worth it and which cards are not, because not all cards are equally good. Let's put it like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm definitely going to throw in Tactical Insight because I want to see my energy being refilled. I am going to get Humanity Shield. So as you can see, Humanity Shield is glowing golden because this is a legendary card. And legendary cards are special not only by the fact that they're very expensive to craft or to get, but by the fact that there are also only 1 copies of those in each deck. So as you can see, I put 2 Tactical Insights here, but I can only use 1 Humanity Shield because it's a legendary. So let's say I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna get double point blank shots because I like the card draw. I certainly want to get my Inceptors because they're a very good flyer, pretty powerful. Maybe also drop in an Outrider in there just for some more early game power. I'm gonna get some Stern Guard Sergeants. So as you can see, I'm actually using a lot of low cost troops because I want to have a strong enough early game. I'm gonna get Death from Above just to be able to burst my opponent, and I'm gonna use the Honor Guard to try and defend my Warlord. Apart from that, I'm gonna get some Inspired Retributions just to have something to destroy enemy troops. And what else should I get? Now I'm thinking maybe I can get some late game troops now. I also really like Angels of Death, so let me just get 2 copies of Angels of Death. I think it's a very good card. I'm gonna get the Primaris Judiciar as well and Primaris Impulsor. And for some of my late game tools, what I really want is probably to get an Epistolary. No, not the Devastator Centurion. I'm gonna play Avenging Zeal as well. What else should I get for my late game? Now I'm thinking, actually, maybe just get Storm Speeders, get some Annihilators. You know what? I'm gonna get 1 Annihilator and 1 Storm Talon. By the way, don't mind that I'm not explaining why I'm building my deck like this. Why I'm building my deck specifically like this. I will explain in a little bit. And also, let's get Antaro Chronos. Let's say I just finished building my deck, right? The next thing that I really want to do is I want to check out my deck's energy value. So once I open it up, over here, I can click to see how the energy of this deck is going. And I think it's quite balanced. This is what you mostly want to be looking for when you're building a deck as a new player. You don't want to see like 6 energy being like full and like 2 and 3 being low, or only 2 and 3 being high and late game being low, because this is how it works. If you only have early game troops, you're going to have a strong early game, but you're going to have nothing late game. If you only have late game troops, you're not going to have anything in the early game, which means that you are going to basically get destroyed early on. I also don't like this card back, so I'm going to click Edit Deck, go into Cosmetics, and choose this one, so it looks a little bit better. Now that we are ready, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Play, I'm going to hit Classic, and I'm going to choose my Ultramarines, and I'm going to choose my new Calgar deck that I just built, and I'm just going to go and play. Now, as we hit play, I am going to explain to you what exactly I'm doing, how the game is played, what each keyword does, and all the important things that you might need to know as a new player. By the way, if you're wondering what these things are here, every season you get to get extra ranked points for winning with the faction that you haven't won with yet. So for example, with Ultramarines, I have no wins yet because I have not played them. Once I win 10 games with Ultramarines, I don't get bonus points anymore, so that prompts me to switch to something else that I haven't played, for example, Sisters. As you can see, this season, Imperial Guard, Orcs, High Fleet Leviathan, and Necrons were my choice. So let us battle, and let us talk about ranked points a little bit later. By the way, this shield right here that you have means that you are shielded from loss, which means the first couple of games that you lose, you're not gonna lose ranked points with the warlords, with the faction that you have chosen. So it's gonna take a little bit, I think, to find the game. And until then, let me tell you something about building your decks as well. So as I said, you're looking for very balanced amount of energy, and do not think that just because a card is legendary, you automatically have to stick all the legendaries in the deck. In a lot of cases, unfortunately, I would say, Warpforge does have the specifics that most legendary cards are very powerful, and you do want to include them in your deck. This is not there for 100% cases. So what you really don't want to be doing is you don't want to be basically playing a legendary just because it is legendary, right? Otherwise, it's just not going to be good. Okay, so we found the game, and as soon as you enter the game, you're going to see your opponent. So we can already see that it is Onva of the Tau, and you're going to get a chance to replace some cards that you have in your hand. Now, obviously, when the game starts, you are looking for early game cards. You're looking for things that you can play in the first 2 or 3 turns. So I'm going to replace all of these, hoping to get cheaper cards. Unfortunately, I did not get lucky and I got costlier cards, but you know, that can happen. After that, you're going to see this weird thing here. These are called defense cards. So if you're going second, you get to choose a defense card. Defense cards are unlocked through the Forge. I will explain later why, but it's there to give you a little bit of advantage because you're going second. Now, the opposing player, who is going first, is going to have a chance to play an offense card. But Onva, in this case, did not choose to do so because offense cards, unlike defense cards, can be bad or good for both players. So this is turn 1. And as you can see here, you can see the available energy that you have to play. So I have 2 energy, which means that I will not be able to play my Primaris and Scepter this turn. So the thing that I can do here is I can use my talent and just draw a card. Also, that talent gave me 1 armor, which means that when I attack on Va, he will not hit me back for 2 damage, but only for 1 damage because I'm armored now. And this will last until the end of the turn, unfortunately, which means now if he hits me, I'm still going to take 2 damage. So Onva here drops a Fire Warrior. So Fire Warrior is not too good for us because as long as this thing is on the board and if it's alive, it's going to keep hitting Calgar in the face, which means it's going to be damaging me. And if my HP drops to 0, I'm going to die. So that's not something that we want. Now, since Fire Warriors have both melee and 3 as melee and ranged as 3, it doesn't matter if I do a ranged or melee attack against it. it's going to do the same amount of damage. So I attack with Kalgar to bring him down to 2 HP, and then I use my Primaris Inceptor, and oh, I just made a mistake here. So what was the mistake? I forgot that when I played my Primaris Inceptor, it gained +1 ranged attack through his Codex ability. Now, Primaris Inceptor also has flank, which means that it can attack as soon as it is dropped, as long as it's attacking a troop and not a warlord. So that's what the flank does. Also, by being flying, it means that it cannot be targeted by melee attacks unless the other unit is also flying, which means Onva had to attack it with a ranged attack, which is not good for him because he took more damage there than he would if he used the melee attack. So again, I have my Primaris Inceptor, but here's the thing. With my Primaris Inceptor, I could try to Codex it and take it out, but the problem is, if I attack the sniper drone with Primaris Inceptor, it's going to hit me back for 3, and I really don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the Inceptor, and I'm going to attack this with melee, and then I'm going to take it out with Kalgar. So Kalgar lost HP here, but what I got in exchange is a healthy Primaris Inceptor on board. So your HP is a resource, so do not fear to use it if you think that it's gonna give you a good trade. Now, Onva did tag my Inceptor with a marker light, which means that he's gonna deal bonus range damage, which means Onva is now able to just take out my Inceptor, which is unfortunate, but what can you do? So currently I'm in a pickle. Onva has the big board while I do not. So this is the moment where I decide to use my defense card, which reduces the cost of my next card by 1. So I'm going to use this, and I'm going to follow up with Angels of Death, which is going to give me Primaris Intercessors, which are also going to be gaining flank. And what this is going to do for me is this is going to help me clear the enemy board. So I take the ranged attack on this, and I take it out with Kalgar, and then I do 2 melee attacks against the Pathfinder. I do not do the ranged attack because I don't want my intercessors to take more damage. So now we have the board, but Onva answers with his own stratagem, which is the Relentless Fusillade, which means that he just cleared up my whole board, and suddenly it looks like we're in a pretty interesting situation. But fortunately, I top decked another Angels of Death, which I'm going to play right away, because even though the flank is going to be useless, I now have a board full of Primaris Intercessors, and he has nothing. And I also smack him over the face with Kalgar, just to show him that I mean business. So he shoots with Pulse Onslaught, destroying it with the stratagem. Then he uses his talent, Ethereal Supreme, just to heal up, and then uses the Serene Unifier, and he uses the Burgeoning Empire to draw cards. Now, this is actually pretty good for us, because Onva basically did nothing this turn, which is really good. By nothing, I mean he did not play any troops, so this allows me to play my Epistolary Librarian right away, who's going to draw me a card, also give shield to my Warlord, and give me a huge monster on the board. So I'm going to attack him. I'm going to attack him with the Intercessor, making sure I do the ranged attack, not to miss out on the damage. And I'm going to keep this one not attacking because I want to keep it a little bit healthy, right? So let's see what Onva does here, because currently it's not looking too good for him. So we have a very big board presence. He has nothing. And he plays a Crude Carnivore. Now, Crude Carnivore is a good card, but not that good currently. So what he decides to do is he decides to tag my Epistolary with Marker Light, but that is not going to do much for him. So what I could do here are a couple of things. I could technically try to clear the board with my Storm Talon, but then what do I notice here? I might have lethal damage. I might kill him. So this is 10 damage, 13 damage, 17 damage, and another 5 because it'll trigger Codex. So that means I can take Onva out directly, which means that I no longer need to worry about taking out his troops. I can destroy the Warlord itself. So whenever you have a chance to just destroy the enemy Warlord, you do want to do that and not start trying to kill his board, because that automatically just wins you the game. So that is it. So we just played against the Tau and we won our first game. If you noticed, it wrote 3 skulls after the game. The reason for that is, as I said, when you win the game, you get 3 skulls, which then you can use in the reward section once you have enough to gain campaign points. So let's go play another game with our Kalgar, and let's see if we can win another game against another opponent. By the way, as for the skulls, you can still get skulls if you lose, because you get 1 skull for bringing the enemy to 20 HP, and another skull for bringing him to 10. So even if you don't finish off the opponent, you still get some sort of reward. So currently we're up against the Necrons. I'm gonna get rid of the Inspired Retribution because I think it's a little bit too costly right now. And I'm going to keep all of these things in my hand. Again, I go second, so I get the chance to use my High Factory. But let's actually play Light Cover this game, just to look at another defense card that we can potentially use. So Ramatek, currently the Warlord of the Sotek, is quite a problem because he's very strong. He's a very strong duelist. He gains attack and he gains armor using his talent, and he also, as you notice, drops a regenerative plasma sight. So it's going to be quite difficult combating him in the given situation. But nevertheless, we're going to try our best. We just use our talent because we had nothing else to play, and we attack his plasma sight. Now, if you notice, his plasma sight has a remnant keyword here, which means that when it dies, it's going to leave a remnant. And if I do not destroy that remnant, my opponent is just going to keep resurrecting it, bringing it back from the dead, which is not good. And he plays a second plasma sight, which I think is kind of ridiculous, but is what it is. So, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to be playing an Outrider here. So Outrider is going to use the Codex and gain melee and ranged attack, which means I can take out one of the plasma sites, and then I'm going to attack the remnant just to destroy that as well, because you don't really want to leave remnants alive. That can be an issue. Okay, so Ramatek chooses to shoot it. So he doesn't care about taking damage here because the plasma sight is providing him with regeneration, and he's gaining health back every single turn. So that is very, very nasty. So now I see that he plays a Technomancer. Now playing a Technomancer is very good because that means he's going to be resurrecting things that die. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play my Sternguard Sergeant, and I'm going to use Tactical Insight to trigger his Codex, which is to deal 2 damage to a random target, which fortunately for me ended up being the Technomancer. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to also shoot the Technomancer with point blank shot and re-trigger the Codex again, which draws me another card. I finish off the plasma sight, and now I'm going to use Light Cover to make my Sternguard Sergeant both more durable with armor and camouflaged. And camouflaged means that he cannot use stratagems to target it. So now he will have to use something stronger, like for example a Scorpec Destroyer. Fortunately for me, it looks like that my opponent does not currently have a Scorpec Destroyer, so he just has to attack it and pass a turn, which is absolutely amazing for me. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to drop Antaro Chronus. The bad side about playing Antaro Chronus is that I do not trigger Codex, missing damage on it, but I think Antaro Chronus itself is extremely strong because it has the Spear of Macragge. Unfortunately for me, my opponent manages to destroy Antaro Chronus, but it doesn't worry us too much because we do have the Inceptor Sergeant currently on the board. Now here's the thing though. The thing is, he no longer has armor because he did not play his Hardwired Destruction. So now I can actually attack him to deal damage without taking too much in return. And now our opponent had to waste his Methodical Destruction on the Inceptor Sergeant. Methodical Destruction, usually you want to maintain for stronger cards, but he now had to use it, so that is perfect for me. So now I'm thinking, what should I do? I could play Angels of Death, but I want to keep that for later. So I draw a card through Master Tactician, and I managed to draw another Stern Guard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play Stern Guard. I'm going to shoot him with point blank shot, triggering the Codex again and damaging him even more, and then attacking him again. So Ramatech is currently low, but we are also quite low. And one thing that you need to know about Ramatech specifically is that he often plays Hexmark Destroyers, which are very good at just killing you from around 15 HP. So we gotta be a little bit careful on how we do things. So I managed to get my Predator Annihilator, which is great. So I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna play Angels of Death here. And I made a little mistake. So what I needed to do is actually I needed to play Master Tactician after to get the armor. But fortunately, it doesn't matter here because I was not planning to attack him anyway. By the way, you need to also look at the Destroyer keyword that Ramatech has, which is that he can only attack units that he can kill. If he attacks something he can't kill, well, he's not allowed to. So that is very good, because that means he's not going to be able to attack my Warlord unless he's cleaning all the other things up. And here, I definitely play my Predator Annihilator, I do my Tactician, and Predator is just going to shoot him right off the bat, and I'm going to hit him, only taking 1 damage in return, while dealing 2, right? So that is looking pretty good. And now that he wasted his Methodical Destruction on my Inceptor, there is a huge chance that he cannot destroy my Predator because he doesn't have it anymore. He could have maximum of 2 Methodical Destructions, and as you can see, he currently does not have it. What he does is he plays the Destroyer and he armors it up, he shields it up so that it can protect him. Unfortunately, however, for my opponent, I have Inspired Retribution, which will directly annihilate that troop without me having to deal damage to it directly. Then I shoot him with the Predator Annihilator and I destroy him with Death from Above. So, GG, and we win another game with Marneus Kalgar. So guys, this is basically how you build a deck in Warpforge and how the game goes. I could not show you what happens when we go first, because we can choose an offense card when going first, but I'll discuss that in the economy and card section after this. So thank you for watching this segment of the video, and now I hope that it was a good help to you, and we're now going to go to the economy section of the Warforged game. And finally, we arrive at the economy part of the game. So as a new player, how are you supposed to get new cards? How are you supposed to build a deck? And is this game as predatory as it might seem at the start of the video, right? Does it seem like something that is pay to play or pay to win? So, things that I want to tell you about that. First of all, I do understand that this might leave a very bad taste in your mouth when you look at it, because look at this, there's like gold being sold for money, and it instantly probably reminds you of a typical mobile game where you basically can just buy everything and be better than others. Well, this game is not like that. Yes, the deals that it offers can sometimes be quite ridiculous, I admit, and we also have a running joke about the plus 100% value here, but nevertheless, this game is quite free-to-play friendly. So basically the only thing that paying money is gonna give you in this game is you're gonna get things faster, and you're gonna have all the factions and stuff faster. So you're not gonna be grinding as much as you would normally have to, but despite that, it is quite free-to-play friendly, especially compared to its sister game, Horus Heresy Legions, because it has a couple of things that you can easily do in order to build a faction that you would like. And there is also a very, very good deal that comes with this game if you want to spend $1 or $2 on it. So I'll talk, oh well, maybe $1 or $2 sounded kind of ridiculous there, but what I mean is if you want to spend a couple of dollars. So let's first talk about how you're supposed to get stuff as a free-to-play player and what are the things that you need to avoid. So first of all, obviously what you get is the crystals, and through the crystals you go to the shop and you can buy cards, right? Mostly what I would suggest is do not waste your crystals on something that you really don't need. I would suggest never waste crystals on commons and rares, and try not to waste it on epics unless you really need it. Always keep those crystals for legendary cards, because legendaries cost 6,000 and they are usually the cards that you want to target when it comes to buying from the shop, because legendaries are the hardest to get in the game. And when it comes to commons and rares, you can easily get those from boosters. Sometimes, yes, it can happen that maybe there's a common card or rare card that you're just not getting. But if that happens, sure, be my guest. But otherwise, yes, you don't really want to be doing that. Now, getting crystals is not too hard. In this game, there's multiple ways of getting it. The grindy way is basically playing just matches, because when you win an online match, you get like 50 crystals. So every single match that you win is like 50 crystals, which means 100 wins is like 500 crystals, right? Sorry, not 500, 5,000 crystals. So technically speaking, that is one way, but that is like the most grindy way. But considering the fact that as you play the game, you still get those crystals, it is a good little crystal trickle. Like as you play, you just gain and gain and gain those crystals over and over again. Now, the other way that you get those are, of course, from the rewards, which include the weekly challenges. They are going to give you 500 if you do complete all the missions. There's going to be the ones that you are going to be getting from the campaign as well, and we'll talk about campaign in a moment. There's also daily streaks that give you crystals, like even up to like 150. And of course, then there's the draft, which is going to reward you with quite a bit of crystals if you win a couple of games in it, especially if you win 12 draft games. And finally, there is the end of the season rewards. So if you manage to hit legendary rank, it's going to give you a couple of thousands of crystals at the end of every competitive month. So mostly crystals come from a lot of sources, right? One thing that I would never suggest you do is I would never suggest you buy crystals for gold. It is probably the biggest mistake that you can do. Just spend your gold on crystals. I think it's the worst possible deal in the history of deals, paying like gold into crystals. Even like if you want to pay a lot of money for the game and just get stuff, crystals wouldn't be the best bet, because if you want to get the boosters, you get the boosters basically for gold. Like once you don't not okay, let me show you what I mean. Let me just open my 4 Necron boosters here. So let me just quickly do that. Let me just quickly do that for you guys. Because boosters are obviously the best way to get cards, like apart from the shop, right? Boosters are your main source of card income. And let's say you don't have a booster, right? There's a couple of ways to get boosters, I'll tell you in a moment. But they cost 150 gold each. So you do not want to be wasting your gold on crystals. It's stupid. Unless you really need something like, I don't know. Unless it's a special case, never do that. I would even suggest never waste gold on boosters either, to be honest. I suggest you just keep the gold, because there are certain things that are gonna be available for gold later, like battle passes, there might be special offers, there might be special warlord skins like the cell shaded skins that I showed you. So in general, keep your gold, do not waste it. The first mistake that everybody makes, including myself that I made, is wasting your gold. Always keep that gold, ramp up that gold so that you can get like those battle passes and stuff that arrive for gold instead of real money, right? So I suggest do not ever waste that gold. Whatever crystals you get, sure, you can spend it. Even if there's nothing that you don't like, that you like in the shop, it's not mandatory to spend crystals. If you don't like anything there, keep your crystals for the next day, because every day you basically get double shops, and your the legendary that you need for your faction is bound to appear sooner or later, right? And sooner rather than later. Now, you might get a question, okay, I get it. So you're telling me to buy stuff with crystals, but then you're saying don't waste gold on the boosters, right? If you have to waste gold on the boosters, I would suggest all army ones, because these cost 100 and these cost 150. But then you might get a question, so where the hell do I get boosters? Well, let me tell you about that. It's actually quite simple. So as we already mentioned, there is the campaign node, right? So let's say I want to start off with the Ultramarines. So when I start the Ultramarine campaign, I can unlock like nodes using the campaign points that I get from missions. And as I already mentioned before, when you complete the missions, you get certain points, right? So for example, here I got the mission to pray 30 times. Once I have that, it's going to award me with 400 Ultramarine points. Don't want Ultramarine points? Switch it to Orcs or switch it to Sotek, whichever you want. And don't forget, once it's complete, you can still change it and then hit collect. So it doesn't have to be set to what you want when you're completing the mission. And then use those points to unlock different nodes here. So first off, you get a lot of stuff here. You get cards, you get crystals, you get boosters, and you also get something called the wild cards. And we're going to talk about that in a moment, so don't forget that. But the thing is, as soon as you complete your campaign, you reach the final node, it's going to be a 1100 point node, which is going to be a booster, and this is going to be redoable. So you can do this over and over and over again. So you can get like a few boosters every single day, right? Using those campaigns, using maybe playing drafts, getting some rewards, but your main income of boosters is going to be the campaign. And campaigns, guys, trust me, is a perfect thing for getting things. And I actually have an old video on Sotek Dynasty, how to start collecting Sotek and what the campaign rewards are. And campaign is actually a great value. It gives you a ton of rewards, including some crucial epic cards, like you got the Sternguard Sergeant here, you got the Redemptor Dreadnought, you got Lieutenant Calcius. So you get a lot of very cool cards for each faction, including wild cards and random legendaries as well. So there is literally no reason not to complete the campaign. So this will really help you get a lot of necessary stuff very, very early on in the game. And as I said, you don't have to complete the whole campaign. You can leave the campaign midway if you want and move to a new faction and then move back to the last one. So it's absolutely beautiful. No reason not to do that, right? Now, at the same time, if you do buy a premium campaign, it's going to basically be double the rewards, kind of, because every node that has these spikes around it, so you can see this is a normal node, this is the spiky one. The spiky ones come with extra rewards for those who buy the premium campaign. Now, premium campaign is actually one of the best deals in the game if you're looking to buy something, because not only does it give you a ton of value, it's also, I think, like $19, if I remember correctly, and it often comes in bundles as well, like 2 or 3 campaigns together. And if you're looking to spend money on the game, this is the best thing, because this is going to give you, if you buy a premium campaign, you can basically build almost the whole faction in like a week or a little bit more if you play actively, because it gives you a ton of value, and it also gives you a daily reward of extra points when you log in, which is going to last indefinitely. So if you're looking actually to spend some like real money in this game, I suggest that is the number one. It's much better than just going in and buying a huge bundle with 30 boosters. I mean, you can also do that. I'm not saying it's bad or anything. Why the hell not? If you want some extra value, you could do that. But the best thing is certainly buying the premium campaigns. So you want to be getting boosters from here, complete your campaign, and start pushing for the boosters and start opening those boosters to get cards. And as I've already mentioned, as soon as you go to the 30s booster, you're guaranteed to get a legendary if you haven't gotten one from it already, right? So that is the main way you'll be getting cards: crystals in the shop and boosters from missions, drafts, as well as the campaigns. Now, you might get a question, but what the hell were those wild cards that you mentioned, right? And what if I get duplicate cards? So that is a very good question. So let's go into our collection and let's choose our which one should I choose? Let's choose, for example, the Emperor's Children. Actually, no, not the Emperor's Children. I need something where I have a wild card. Actually, okay, Dark Angels. There you go. So here on the top right side, you can see I have these wild cards. I have 1 legendary wild card, 5 epics, 2 rares, and 6 commons. This basically means that I can use those wild cards to craft something that I want. So for example, let's say I don't have Azrael, right? and I really want Azrael. He's not appearing in the shop, and I just really want to play him. I click Azrael, and I click this, create a copy of this card, and it's going to burn my wild card to create it. I'm going to give you actually an example. Wait, let me, do I have a Tyranid Epic wild card? No, I don't. Okay, let me just craft a common for you. So let's say I don't have the Aggressor and I really want it. I just click this and boom, it's going to create an extra copy of Aggressor for me. So there it is. That's how you use your wildcards. And wildcards are an extremely important resource that I suggest you do not waste under any condition unless you really want that legendary. It's much better to be a little bit patient and keep these cards for later, because these can be used to also craft the skins. Like, for example, if you want the cell shaded Azrael, you can also craft it, but you do need the basic Azrael for that. And you know, when new things come out, if you really want to grab it as soon as possible, wildcards are one of the ways, right? So I suggest you stack up on these, only use them when you really want something and when you really find it necessary. So this is basically how the wildcards function. Now, you might get a question though, what if I get too many copies of the same card? Well, let me tell you what happens there. So when you get extra copies of cards, you will see that they're gonna start shining like this. For example, in my case, Boss Zackstroke is shining, right? That means that you already have enough cards to upgrade the card level. So what does that mean? That basically means that I get to upgrade the card. It's going to look a little bit different. So let's take a look at this grot, right? So this is now a level 0 grot, and this kind of sounded like a friggin' mobile game, level 0 mafia guy turning into a boss or something. But yeah, I click this, it's going to use my crystals and it's going to upgrade it. And what's going to happen is it's going to start getting more and more details on its border. And apart from that, it's going to give me forge points, and more on that in a moment. So when you get like a level 5 border, it's going to look different. So I think Necrons are a very good way to showcase it. So this is, for example, a level, I believe, 3, a level 2 Necron card. This is a level 3 Necron card. And this is what a level 4 Necron card looks like with that beautiful golden border. So maximum level of a card is 4. So what you do is basically you disenchant those, and it's going to give you forge points while also upgrading how your card looks. Now, what do we use the forge points for? This is actually one of the things that you can definitely use your crystals for. I think it's a good way to use them. So when you go into rewards, you can go into the forge. So let's take a look at my Ultramarine Forge, which is currently 40. So maximum forge level is 50 for Ultramarines. Currently only orcs have higher than 50 forge, but mostly, yeah, it's a level, mostly the forge level is going to be 40. So every time I get, 50. Every time I get forge points, it's going to progress my forge further. So at first, when I get to level 1, it's going to award me with the defense card. So you guys remember the defense card I used in the game, right? So this is the Hive Factory. So I'm going to unlock this. Then it's going to give me an epic card, wild card. Then boosters. Then an offense card called Orbital Bombardment. And this is the way you go, and it's going to give you a ton of things like defense cards, legendaries, offense cards, boosters, titles, card backs. So there's going to be a ton of rewards here. Now, forge progression in general is not fast. The first 10 levels, sure, pretty damn easy. But then it's going to start getting harder and harder. It also is one of the best ways to obtain gold, so keep that in mind as well. Now, as for defense card and offense cards, this is one of the main things that come from the Forge. As I said, the defense cards are special cards that you get if you're the player who goes second. So you get to choose some extra card to start in your hand for a boost. And as the attacker, you get to use the offense card. Now, this might confuse you a little bit, but here's how it works. Let's say you're playing the Ultramarines. You get to choose only from the Ultramarine defense cards, right? Hive Factory, which is Hive Factory, Fire Strike turrets, and I believe Light Cover. But here's the thing. If you're going first as the Ultramarines, you're not using the offense card of the Ultramarines. You use the offense cards of the faction that you are playing against, which means that you use Orbital Bombardment not when you're playing Ultramarines, but when you're playing against it. So the offense card is for the player who goes first in the game. And offense cards are a little bit different from defense cards in what way? In most cases, defense cards solely benefit the defender, while the offense card can benefit both because there, for example, orbital bombardment is that there's a 10% chance that everything takes 3 damage. That might be good for the attacker and the defender as well, depending on the situation. So you gotta be very careful with how you use offense cards in this game, but defense cards are certainly obviously something that you really want to have. So if you're playing a faction, you need to 100% unlock at least the first defense card, because you'll be crippling yourself if you're not, basically. So yes, that is how basically the Forge works. And some factions don't really need much Forge progression, but some of them do. Very good examples are the Tyranids. Tyranids, if you're playing the Tyranids, you absolutely need to progress your Forge to 20, because the Digestion Pool defense card is just absolutely insane. Okay, so we already agreed that your crystals go in buying cards and using your Forge, basically when upgrading your cards. You're not wasting your gold, you're keeping it for special offers, and you're trying to keep your wild cards as much as possible. So if you want to get a lot of stuff in this game, what you need to do is the following. Keep your gold, farm your crystals, keep an eye on the shop to buy new cards, and choose a faction to farm in the campaign node and do their final node over and over again to get more and more boosters. Now you might think, but hey, Ecclesiarch, that means that I have to farm Ultramarines for months, right? No, you don't. Once you complete your campaign, you will already have so much stuff that you'll probably need only a couple of more boosters to really get your deck into a good place. The hard to get things are going to be the legendary cards, which then you use your crystals to purchase from the shop, get as the reward at the end of the season, or get from the draft. Now, when it comes to draft, there is also a pretty important part of the game. So every day you're going to have a free draft. So as I said, the way that the draft works is, actually, let me show you. So for example, let's say you enter, you get to choose one of 3 random warlords. So let's say I choose Morven Val, and then it's going to be giving me absolutely random cards from the Sisters roster that I have to choose from. And once like I choose 10 times, it is going to, let me just choose it randomly, just so that not to drag this video too much. Let me just, do it real quick. As you can see, it's dropping a ton of legendaries, by the way. So once I have it ready, then it allows me to play. And here's the thing. Every time I win, a skull gets put in here. If I get to 12 wins, I automatically get the highest reward. If I lose 3 times, I lose. And however, losing does not mean that I don't get any rewards. You get a reward every time you go into the draft, but the more wins you have, the more stuff you're gonna get. So you can resign at some point as well. But as you can see, now that I have 0 rewards, for example, it still gives me a reward, but it's measly 10 crystals and 1 Emperor's Children card. But at maximum, you could get like up to 5 boosters, 1,000 crystals, and a guaranteed legendary. So you can also see that there is a premium reward section, which costs 5 Blackstone. This is what you want to be doing, because you can enter premium draft as many times as you want per day, unlike the free draft, as long as you have Blackstone to pay. And if you play with Blackstone, on 12 wins, it guarantees you to gain a legendary card, which is actually huge. So if you're good at drafting, that's gonna be one of the best ways to gain cards as well. Now, I will be making a draft guide separately for you guys, which you can then follow and learn how to play draft better. I do already have one, but I think that one's not perfect. It needs more work on it, so you can still check it out if you wish, but I am going to be making a new one. So that's pretty much what it is for the economy of the game, guys. That's what you pretty much need to know, and you'll be able to, get a lot of things very quickly if you just do your dailies and play a couple of matches per day. Now, let's finally talk about a couple of crucial mistakes that beginners make in this game. I already mentioned a couple, but if you really want to get into this game successfully, I suggest you memorize what I tell you right now. So number one mistake that beginners always make is wasting their wildcards too early. So that is probably one of the biggest mistakes that you can make, because you don't know what are good cards or bad cards. B, you are pretty much wasting your wild cards, which could be extremely useful to you later on. And C, sometimes unknowing players even waste legendary wild cards on stuff that they already have. Like maybe they already have Gaskell and they decide they can have 2 copies of him, so they click twice. So what I would do is, I would suggest to you is, do not use wild cards as soon as you start the game. Keep them, sit on them basically, and then go on Discord or ask content creators or ask your friends, what should I do with it, how should I use it, and so on. So do not waste your wild cards early. Number 2, do not waste your gold early. Do not start buying boosters with gold, and do not, under no circumstance, start buying crystals with gold. That is the mistake that I made when I started playing the game, and it is absolutely stupid. So do not do that. Keep your gold. It's going to be way more useful to you later on. Number 3, wasting Blackstone too early. So without learning how to play your drafts first and just jumping in with Blackstones into premium, I know it can be a gamble. I know sometimes when you get angry, you might just want to do it over and over again, but that's a perfect way to lose your Blackstone. So I suggest just play daily drafts, learn how to play the game, get better at it, and once you think that you're better at the game, then you can start using your Blackstone more reliably. So that is like 3 mistakes that players make in terms of the economy of the game. Now, some other mistakes that players do make is neglecting the practice mode, which I think is not good, because the practice mode really allows you to try out the faction and really understand whether or not this faction is yours to begin with, because you might start collecting Sisters of Battle because you love them in the lore, and then suddenly you're like, yeah, but I don't like how they play on in this game, and now I've wasted 1 week collecting a faction that I really don't like. So make sure you play a couple of practice games, learn how to play, see which factions you like and don't like, and start collecting accordingly. And finally, one thing that I would suggest is have a little bit of patience. So if you start collecting a faction, don't start collecting 5 factions at the same time. Think about how you do Warhammer Tabletop, right? When you are collecting tabletop models, you don't collect 5 factions at the same time, right? You start collecting a faction that you like. So do the same thing in Warpforge. So choose a faction that you want. Do you like Dark Angels? Collect the Dark Angels. And once you have like a functioning Dark Angel deck that is complete, then you can move on to the next faction. So make sure that you do that, and make sure that you also don't neglect any rewards of campaigns, quests, and so on. I think that is going to be extremely important for you to remember if you want quick success in Warpforge, and if you want to quickly gather some things. Now, when it comes to my suggestion as of beginner-friendly factions, as I've mentioned, I will tell you which I think are the most beginner-friendly to least beginner-friendly. If you want to hear more in-depth explanation on that, I do have, as I mentioned, a separate video on that. It's called How to Choose Your Warforged Faction, I believe. I'm going to link it in the description, not description, but in the comment section anyway. So, I think that the 3 most beginner-friendly factions are Ultramarines, the Imperial Guard, as well as the Orcs. Reason for that is none of these 3 factions require too many legendaries to function. Although there are some very good legendaries in there and there are some must-have ones, they don't require too many of those. And they're also pretty easy and straightforward to play. The Ultramarine mechanic codex, the Orc mechanics of the mob, and the Imperial Guard's regiments and duty is very easy to get the hang of, and they're very straightforward, and you really gotta get a hang of them very easily. The factions that I would not suggest for beginners, unless you're really planning to commit to them, would first of all be High Fleet Leviathan. High Fleet Leviathan also is one of the more popular factions. It's very cool. I love playing the Tyranids. They are very, very hard to collect because they require a lot of legendary cards. They require their Forge level 20, and generally they're not easy to play. As for the other factions, I believe all the other factions can be an alright choice. One thing that you need to know is Sisters of Battle and Black Legion also tend to be extremely expensive in terms of their legendary costs and their epic costs. Otherwise, yeah, you can basically go for whatever you like if you love the faction and if you think that faction is basically yours. But just keep in mind that if it were my suggestion for beginners, these would be the 3 factions that I would recommend. So, I hope that this video was useful for you. If you have certain questions, feel free to write in the comments, and I'll do my best to help you out. And yeah, leave a comment and tell me how much you liked the video. Ecclesiarch out.
Let the dance of death begin.